Welcome to the New Forest District Council meeting on the 7th of December 2020. We will start with our normal moment's silence. Thank you. Housekeeping. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all members of the Council and officers in attendance at today's meeting. Welcome to members of the public, the press, who may be watching and the meeting and live on YouTube. I'm Councillor Alan Glass, Chairman of the Council. I would remind all participants that this meeting is being broadcast live and will be available for repeated viewing. Please would all participants note the following procedures for the meeting I intend to follow as chairman, which have been well circulated as the Council's ground rules for virtual meetings. Please could all attendees mute their microphone when not speaking, which will reduce feedback and background noise. Please remember to unmute when I invite you to speak. Please switch off any other devices such as mobile phones or onto silent setting during the duration of the meeting. Please only speak when invited to by me as chairman, introducing yourself to the meeting if you have not been introduced by name. To indicate that you would like to speak, please type the message RTS, indicating request to speak using the Skype chat panel and press the arrow button to send. Please only use this to indicate that you would like to speak. If there appears to be a consensus for recommendations or motions this evening, I'll ask members to indicate if there is anyone against the proposal. If there are no further indications or requests to speak, I'll take this consensus of the Council as agreeing the recommendation or motion. If a formal vote is required on a particular item, I'll call each member of the Council to vote in turn. Please express your vote verbally with for, or against, or abstain. A recorded vote will not be reflected in the minutes of the meeting unless this is requested in accordance with normal procedure. When voting, I ask that all the members of the Council do so in the acknowledgement that they have heard the full debate and can therefore vote in accordance with government regulations. In the event of any technical problems, there will be a short adjournment to establish if the fault can be addressed. Please bear with us in these circumstances. If an individual loses connection and the meeting can practically continue with a quorum, it will do so. Apologies. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Anne Sevier. Are there any other apologies? No. Members of the Council in attendance will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Agenda item 1, minutes. Do any members have any matters to raise in respect of the accuracy of the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of October 2020? Otherwise, I'll take this as consensus as agreement of the signing of the minutes. I'll take that as agreed. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in connection with an agenda item for this meeting? None declared. Chairman's announcements. Members, I was most pleased to be able to observe the Armistice Day commemoration by laying a wreath at Appletree Court on behalf of all members and officers of the Council, especially during these socially restrictive times. I hope all members had the opportunity to view the short video released on the day. I was also able to lay a wreath at my local church, St Andrew's in Fawley, which was sent online to view by the local church congregation. COVID-19. Members, as the final council meeting of 2020, a challenging year for the council and the community, I would like to place on record my sincere thanks and appreciation to the council in partnership with all our local communities in the New Forest for responding in such extraordinary times. Agenda item 4, Leader's announcements. Leader, do you have any announcements?
Just a couple, Chairman.
Thank you.
Members, it is with regret we have to cancel the all-member briefing on Skype scheduled for tomorrow evening on the Southampton City of Culture 2025 bid. It's unfortunate, but for technical reasons we could not guarantee access for all attendees. I'm sure you'll agree that a date in the new year when these issues have been resolved will maximise attendance for councillors, officers and our local partners for this event. Celebrating small business in the New Forest. Retail businesses welcomed back customers for the first Saturday in over a month last weekend, which coincided with the annual Small Business Saturday. Our local retail and hospitality businesses have had a really challenging year. It's therefore vitally important that we come out and safely support these enterprises, which support so many local jobs and supply chains. We've always actively supported Small Business Saturday, but this year's event is more important than ever. Saturday also marked the first of 5 days throughout December when car parking charges in the New Forest District Council town and village centres will be suspended. Free parking is one of several initiatives aimed to supporting the district's small local business during the corona pandemic. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 5, reports of the Cabinet. We now move to the reports of the Cabinet dated 4th of November and the 2nd of December 2020. In view of the number of items and recommendations on both reports, I would suggest to that the Council deals with the reports separately in turn. Leader, in which case would you move the adoption of the first report of 4th of November 2020?
I'm pleased to do that, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edward Heron, I understand you wish to second that.
I do, Chairman. I'm pleased to second that.
Thank you very much. I will call each paragraph of the report of the Cabinet dated the 4th of November 2020 and ask if any member wishes to speak. Please note that there are recommendations for Council at paragraphs 3, 5 and 6. I will pause at each paragraph to see if any member wishes to speak, but it may assist if you indicate the paragraph number when you make your request. Paragraph 1. COVID-19 Response and Recovery, Leaders' Report. Paragraph 2. Draft Waste Strategy. Paragraph 3.
Chairman, I've done an RTS, Chairman.
Sorry.
And I have to.
Sorry, I didn't see them. So draft waste strategy, Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Yeah, my camera's just gone off. Okay, yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just put my camera back on. Yeah, this is causing obviously a quite furore with the people in our districts because there's some for it, some will be against it. And we've gone into a consultation which probably we could have done a little bit better with, but we are where we are. But I think we ought to reflect the reason why this district has had to go to what is quite a radical change in the collection of its waste. For years and years and years and years, this administration has totally ignored recycling to the extent we became one of the worst recycling authorities in the country. The government has driving legislation to change the collection of waste, which is mentioned, and we know that, and that's leading in this way. But the actions are such a dramatic change for our residents. It's because you've ignored it for so long. And we need to be cognizant that this district needs to keep in touch with what is important. And recycling is important for the environment, and it's important for the reduction of waste, which we need to look at quite seriously. And I crave that this district really gets its head out of the sand and really looks at the issues that matter to people going forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I now take Councillor David Harrison.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I wanted to talk on the draft waste strategy. I think there's a big problem that's emerged. I've done my very best to inform the public about the proposed changes to waste collection. After all, they will involve everybody, every household in the district, and it's one of the biggest changes we would have seen in the district for many, many years. And the thing that struck me, Chairman, is widespread ignorance about what's happening. I've often been told by people they've only learnt about it through my Facebook page and my other social media posts. And I guess the problem is that a lot less people are reading newspapers these days, and unless you've got the internet, you're not going to know what's happening. Chairman, last time I checked, only about 3% of New Forest residents have responded to the consultation, and it ends on Thursday. It's a very disappointing response. I think that's partly because of the leading questions and the very poor way the survey has been set out. And I wonder whether the administration might think again, because we have the prospect of wheelie bins being introduced into the district and a lot of people being taken completely by surprise. Whether you support the use of wheelie bins or not, this is not the way the council should be operating.
Thank you. I will be asking Councillor Alison Hall to comment in a moment, but firstly I will take Councillor Maureen Holding. But we are only talking about a consultation at the moment. Nothing has been decided. Councillor Maureen Holding.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed.
I'm very concerned that people that have spoken to me have not received the consultation. I had a gentleman came to see me just on Saturday to say, I haven't received it. And I said, I don't think it's gone out to everybody. And his reply was, well, I've not talked to anybody that has received it. And I was told you promised us for many years that we would not have wheelie bins. And there is so much upset about this that we have done a big U-turn and put wheelie bins in the forest when the consultations before showed a large number in favour of people not wanting them. I am concerned because I don't feel there's been a full consultation on this, and I honestly feel that there will be a big backlash when we have promised something for so long and people feel that we are reneging on our word. And this is something that I cannot vote for because I have promised for such a long time that I will not vote for it. There are so many reasons which we have gone through. When it was cabinet, of course, I couldn't get in on the computer at all. The last couple of weeks, I've had a virus on my computer, so I've had no computer.
Yeah.
So I've not been in a position to do a lot, but I do feel it's important to make this point, and I will now be quiet.
Thank you. We trying to keep it to the consultation.
Yes, well, it's the consultation I'm worried about because I feel everybody or a good number should get a copy of it, and a lot of us haven't had sight of it.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've got an awful lot of people queuing up. Before I call Alison Hoare, Councillor, I will call on Councillor Jack Davis, and I take it that he's the last person to speak before we ask the portfolio holder to reply. Thank you. Can I hear from Councillor Jack Davis, please?
Thank you very much, Councillor Glass, Chairman. I would like to say thank you also for getting my name correct and not calling me Jack Daniels this week. It's always a pleasure. I will just say that I do believe this consultation is more of a box-ticking exercise than actually a consultation that has meaningful effect on the Council's policy. I'm driven to this mainly because the questions lead towards how it's implemented rather than exactly what it is that's being done. And so for that reason, I'm very concerned. And I have had letters and emails and messages from many constituents who have said they are also concerned about the consultation, not just because it's very difficult for people who aren't on a computer or, like me on phones and everything 24/7, but also people who say can't get out to get down to the town hall in Lymington or further afield to get a physical copy of this consultation. So I do think that the issues with this consultation are that not only is it leading, but it's not accessible to a vast majority of people who are more likely to be in the demographic of those who will struggle with wheelie bins. And, I am very much someone who is open to persuasion on this subject, but it does feel like it has been decided and the consultation is merely an afterthought designed to tick whatever box the officers needed to tick.
That's right.
Yeah, I am not quite so dubious. I did say that Councillor Jack Davis, and I've got your name right this time, was going to be the last to speak, but I'll allow Councillor Alexis McAvoy to speak. Then I'll go to Councillor Alison Hoare.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I was obviously we're not voting on any recommendations here, and I was disappointed in the survey that all roads led to wheelie bins. And as I've said before, no outcome where wheelie bins is the only option is anything I could ever support. However, at the recent Q&A session, the officers did assure us that they would put to us additional options, which clearly had not been touched on. I trust I can take those assurances in good faith, and I look forward to seeing a more thorough survey that can come back to us with something sensible that we can consider. So that really is all I want to say at the present time.
Thank you very much. I did say that that was going to be the last one, and because we've got a lot to get through, but I see we've got Councillor Jackie England come up, so I'll just ask her to speak. I hope it's a new subject or a new point of view. So, Councillor Jackie England. Hello, Councillor Jackie England. Nope. Okay, I will have to move on then. We couldn't get an answer from Councillor Jackie England. So I'll go on to the portfolio holder, Councillor Alison Hoare, to answer the points raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I would say this is just the consultation. And I think that Councillor Harrison has not been at all helpful, because it is not a done deal. We need to do the consultation, we need to do the business case for twin streaming so that we can benchmark it against the service that we already deliver. Any changes to the service, any potential new service will have to be benchmarked against the service that we provide, so that we know, and the council and the residents know, that number one, it will reduce the amount of waste that we produce, that it will increase recycling, and that it will provide a good and usable service for our residents. The comments section in the consultation is something that we're taking very seriously indeed, because we want to know how any changes will actually affect you, affect the residents, what problems they foresee, because from those comments we can learn a lot. We are also including, if people email me or email the waste team, we are including those with the comments, and they will all be evaluated as well. Up to this date, up until Friday, we had 2,500, which if you do it percentage wise, possibly isn't that good. But for a council survey, it's actually a pretty good result. It has been advertised in the newspapers. It has been advertised online via Facebook. It has been advertised on the radio as well. People can, and councillors should know this, people can actually phone up customer services, and we will send them a waste strategy pack. I think it's a shame that we've had some councillors that have been worrying people, giving people false impressions by saying it's a done deal, when nothing at this moment is a done deal. But there will have to be some changes, because we are going forward, we are going to have to comply with the environment strategy and the forthcoming government waste strategy. But we need to match all ideas, everything, against the service that we are currently giving. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much for that explanation. It was very clear. Unfortunately, I've had other people applying to speak, but we did have to call that debate to a halt. But you can always email in and put any questions to the portfolio holder, and we can make sure that the points are publicised. Thank you very much indeed. Very interesting debate. Paragraph 3, private sector housing strategy. This item has recommendations. Paragraph 4, Partnership for South Hampshire, Statement of Common Ground. Paragraph 5.
Chairman, should we not vote on the recommendation of paragraph 3 if it's in agreement?
That will be done as the group at the end. Yeah. So, paragraph 5, council tax, empty homes premiums. This item has recommendations. Paragraph 6, council tax reduction scheme 2020-22. Again, this item has recommendations. Paragraph 7, medium-term financial plan. And paragraph 8, delegation of powers to officers. Members, the report and recommendations have been moved and seconded. Does anyone wish to vote against? Councillor Jack Davis?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Jack Davis?
I was saying I'd vote against.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishes to vote against?
Sorry, Chairman, what is Councillor Davis voting against? Which section is he voting against, please?
He's voting against the total report. The report is
It's all being taken together.
Yes.
So all the recommendations are being taken together.
Yes. That's exactly what we've been saying. So,
voting against those recommendations.
Point of order, Chairman. There are different subjects here.
Yeah.
I cannot see how we can, whether we're for them or against them. They have to be taken under each item, surely.
Well, I've been advised by the legal department here that this can be taken en bloc. So I'll move on. We only have one
I'm
person.
Sorry, I've been
Councillor Holding, please wait and use the RDS? We're trying to hold the meeting.
I've
It has
pressed
RTS, to be
RTS.
fair.
Now I've pressed RTS. Hasn't that come through?
Yeah, I have taken advice again, and I've been told to, as we've only have one vote against, I can take that vote as carried for the report on block.
I'm sorry,
No,
I've
Chairman.
been trying to get in. I really feel, I agree with Councillor McAvoy, there are too many things here to vote on block, and some of us disagree with some of it, but would agree with the bulk of it. And therefore, you know, you don't want to get everybody voting against everything when that isn't necessary.
I have been told that this is the way it should be done by the legal services, and therefore that is the way I'll be doing it. Hopefully, if we have any questions, we can email each portfolio holder. But if we went through the whole thing, I think we'd be here till
I'm
about
sorry,
midday.
Chairman. Point of order. There are different items in this report, and they should be taken separately. I would like that recorded, please.
Chairman,
Can I just come in?
That's right.
Can I just come in, Chairman, and just clarify? The only items on which there are recommendations are Para 3, Private Sector Housing Strategy, Para 5, Council Tax, Empty Homes Premium, Para 6, Council Tax Reduction Scheme. Those are the only 3 items with recommendations, and at this moment, Councillor Jack Davies is the only one that is raising an objection to those recommendations in those 3 items. The other items that have been discussed do not have recommendations against them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, but I will say we're only
please.
talking about the ones with recommendations. I'm not questioning the ones without recommendations. It's never been done like this before.
Well, this is the way it has been explained to me. This is the way the legal department have done it, have advised me. So this is the way we're going to have to do it to keep it going and to keep it within the law. Thank you. We will now move on to the next item. Leader, I would now like to move to the adoption of the report of the 2nd of December 2020.
I'm pleased to put that to the Council, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Edward Heron, I understand you wish to second.
Chairman, I'm pleased to second that.
Thank you. I will call each paragraph of the report of the Cabinet dated 2nd of December 2020 and ask if any member wishes to speak. Please note that there are recommendations for the Council at paragraph 6. I will pause at each paragraph to see if any member wishes to speak, but it may assist if you indicate the paragraph number when you make a request. Paragraph 1. COVID-19 Response and Recovery, Leaders Report. Paragraph 2, COVID-19 Recovery, Local Economy Task and Finish Group. Paragraph 3, Rural Housing and Right to Buy. Paragraph 4, Draft Supplementary Planning Document. Paragraph 5, ICT Strategy and Budget Update. Paragraph 6, Financial Monitoring Report. Paragraph 7, Council Tax 2122, Setting the Tax Base. This item has recommendations. Paragraph 8, additional meeting dated 2021. Does anyone wish to vote against the acceptance of this report? I have Councillor Jan Duke.
Thank you, Chairman. On paragraph 3, I just wanted to say, sort of representing a rural sort of area, how welcome this is, bringing in some protections to the disposal of council properties, particularly in rural areas. I did send a message through to legal services and question why, if this has been on the statute book since 1985, we didn't use this protection earlier. I think fundamentally we can't do anything retrospectively, clearly, but I think this is a very good move forward, and I hope it will offer some protection to keeping rural properties in local hands and keeping these communities going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, the report. I confirm the outcome. Leader, would you now like to move the adoption of the report of the 2nd of December 2020?
Pleased to do that, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Heron. I understand you wish to second. Sorry.
Please to second.
Thank you. Sorry. I've gone back to the previous page. I do apologise. So I got a little bit confused there. As no one has voted against, I confirm the vote for. Thank you. Agenda item 6, report of the Environment Overview and Scrutiny Panel. We now move to the report of the Environment Overview and Scrutiny Panel dated the 15th of October 2020. The recommendation, as outlined on the agenda, is that the conclusion of the panel in respect of the call-in request, as outlined in the report, has been noted. Councillor Rippon-Swain, as chairman of the panel, would you like to move this?
Pleased to do so, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Benison, as vice chairman, would you like to second?
Pleased to second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Have anyone wishes to speak on this motion? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chairman. It was with a heavy heart that I read the outcome of this report. Of course, it's not surprising. I can't think of a single example where any scrutiny committee has ever changed a portfolio holder recommendation in the entire history of this Conservative administration. So at least it's consistent in that respect. But it's bad for Totton, it's bad for the residents of Totton, it's bad for the businesses of Totton, and it's bad for motorists. I never thought that the Tories would be so car-hating as they appear to be here, but obviously you're on the wrong track, and it just needs opposition councillors like me to tell you so.
Have you finished, Councillor Harrison? Thank you.
Do you want some more?
No, thanks. We've had quite enough. Councillor Jack Davis.
Yeah, speaking as an outsider, I read the report with interest. Obviously, it was very disappointing for the councillors and the people of Totton, but I did find it quite strange. The emphasis seemed to be, or the justification seemed to be, firstly, that you couldn't treat Totton any different to the rest of the forest, which is understandable. But then you also mentioned about how it was, you wanted to encourage cycling and walking. But to be honest, I haven't really seen any of that in any of your policies, and it feels to me like a justification designed to avoid criticism rather than actually a kind of a pointing to a long-term strategy designed around active travel. And to be honest, I'd really appreciate kind of a long-term commitment to active travel from this council, but it did just seem strike me as an excuse rather than actually a legitimate reason. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for expressing your opinion. Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I just thought I ought to correct Councillor David Harrison. Indeed, there was an occasion that I am well aware of when the Conservative administration scrutiny panel did change the decision of the portfolio holder, and I remember it well because I was the portfolio holder for Planning and Transport who had the decision sent back to him by the scrutiny panel. And indeed, the decision was revised in light of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I was on the committee that refused it. Councillor Edward Heron.
Chairman, I'm not going to say much on this because this is an issue that has been well debated at the appropriate time at the Scrutiny Committee. But Chair, I can't let Councillor Harrison's comments go without a brief response. And it is somewhat surprising from a party that advocated so much for the fuel escalator, that advocates so much for those policies that try to encourage behaviour that is more environmentally sustainable, that car parking charges are a method used, may I say it, to a far heftier degree by many Liberal Democrat administrations across the country. He seems to feel that when it might just win him 1 or 2 votes, now is the time to come out and against it. Chairman, I do believe that through having fair car parking charges, it is one method, and it is one method only, to help encourage those to think a little more carefully about the most sustainable choice for their shopping trip or their services that they are accessing. But Chairman, it is only one method, but it's equally fair that that cost should be equitably shared across the district. And I would remind members that with a £25 short stay parking clock, compared to the cost of running a vehicle, this is only a minor nudge to hopefully make people think again before using their car.
Thank you, Councillor Heron, and I like your plug for the parking clocks. Councillor Caroline Rackham.
Thank you. I was kind of saving this for the question a little bit later, which I'm also asking on the parking charges. But since we're discussing the nature of the cuts to the number of long stay car parking spaces that are coming up, unfortunately, that then means that we can't ask people to use more sustainable transport because they won't be able to park in order to use the trains. What you're doing is getting rid of long stay parking bays, which people need for the trains and people need to work in the town centre. They cannot, I stress this again, not all towns in the New Forest are the same. Totton is simply too big for people to be able to just walk 5 minutes down the road to go to work in the town centre. They live too far away.
Thank you from that point of view. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, although I'm not a Totton councillor, but looking at this objectively, now this council has got in its strategy multi-modular transport, but you only ever bring it out when it wants to do as an excuse to do something you want to do that suits you, right? You do not pursue this as much as you should, and I would say that this to me is in a very difficult time for traders. In a difficult time, and we're going to get much worse. The economic outfall from the pandemic will affect all of the New Forest. And bunging car parking charges to get a few extra quid in Totton at this time, I think, is insensitive. And I think is the wrong time to do it. It's not like they had charges before. They didn't. These have been free. So I think this is pure and simple a cash generator for the coffers. But I think you should have been considered the sensitivity and the issues for local traders in Totton, as it is all over there. We should be looking at ways to reduce the burden on people going to visit the shops. And I would suggest we look at car parking charges across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We've heard all the points of view, and Obviously, this has been very carefully put through a task and finish group. What I'm going to ask now is the task and finish group and the overview and scrutiny panel to comment. I can hear someone can't be muted at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to ask for the leader of the overview and scrutiny panel, Councillor Rippon-Swain, to answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. As Chairman of the panel, I always make an extra effort to ensure when subjects like this come in front of the panel that everybody who has an interest in the subject is given plenty of time to have their say so that the panel can get a complete overview of all these different attitudes and opinions before coming to a decision. So this was not done lightly. We spent some time on it, and at the end of the day, the recommendation is as it is after all and others have been listened to, and I therefore obviously recommend it to the Council. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I hope that explains everything, and I would remind everybody that all of the task and finish groups are open to anybody who wishes to attend them. Thank you. Members, the report and recommendations to note has been moved and seconded. I trust that this report is noted. Is there any dissent? No.
I dissent, Chairman.
Who was that?
This is Councillor Harrison. I do dissent.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison.
My dissent as well.
So do I, Chairman. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
I feel like this is I'm Spartacus moment, but I dissent as well.
Who's that?
Councillor Kangarani as well, dissent.
Oh.
And Mark Clark.
Thank you. That's not the majority of the council, therefore we will note it, but we will note your comments as well. Thank you very much. Standing orders, sorry, questions under Standing Order 22. There are none. Yeah. Questions to portfolio holder under Standing Order 22A. But before we start that, I understand Councillor Jack Davies wishes to say something. Councillor Jack Davies.
Thank you. I just would like to move that we suspend Standing Order, I believe it's 40A.1, which would sets the time limit for questions to portfolio holders, just because I see there's a lot of questions and I would like us to get through them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that proposal?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. It's Councillor Mark Clark. I'd like to second that particular motion of suspension. Thank you.
Thank you. To remind members, questions to portfolio holders are there to help provide information to members. The Constitution of the Council provides half an hour within proceedings for all questions to be answered verbally. If there is not sufficient time, answers are provided in writing and all answers are included in the minutes of the Council meeting. This process has served the Council well in ensuring the Council meeting runs efficiently for many years. I will ask for a vote on this motion, which has duly been put and... Hang on. Who's speaking? I'm here.
Thank you, Chairman. Shall I come in here and shall we do the vote?
Please, yes. We've got someone else. I've got someone else. Sorry, I've got...
Chairman, shall I come in and just take the vote now, please?
Okay.
Members...
Can I just... I'm hearing terrible feedback. Did everybody hear?
Just about. You're echoing a bit, that's all.
Can't hear you anymore.
It sounds like good now, Chairman.
It's just self-muted itself again. The thing is going mad here. Can anyone hear me now?
Yes, you're on.
Good. So did everybody hear the statement I made and how far we've got? So we're going to vote. First of all, Bob will take the vote, but we're going to vote on the request that we suspend standing orders to allow all questions to be given and put in an unlimited time. May I ask Bob to take the questions now, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I will call each member's name out. Those members in favour of the proposal to extend the half hour for questions, please say for, against, or abstain. So if you're in favour of it, for; if you're against, and you can abstain. Councillor Alvey.
Someone just tried to mute me. I'm against it.
Councillor Diane Andrews.
Against.
Councillor Bellows.
Against.
Councillor Benison.
Against.
Councillor Blunden.
Against.
Councillor Brand.
For.
Councillor Brunsden.
For.
Councillor Carpenter.
Against.
Councillor Sarasoli.
Against.
Councillor Mark Clark.
For.
Councillor Rebecca Clark.
For.
Councillor Steve Clark.
Against.
Councillor Jill Cleary.
Against.
Councillor Corbridge.
Against.
Councillor Craze.
Against.
Councillor Crisell.
Against.
Councillor Jack Davies.
For.
Councillor Steve Davies.
Against.
Councillor Arthur Davis.
Against.
Councillor Delamere.
For.
Councillor Dowd. Councillor Duke. Councillor Dunning.
Against.
Councillor England.
For.
Councillor Glass.
Against.
Councillor Gothard.
Against.
Councillor Harris.
Against.
Councillor Harrison.
For.
Councillor Hawkins.
Against.
Councillor Edward Heron.
Against.
Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Against.
Councillor Hall.
Against.
Councillor Holding.
Against.
Councillor Hopkins.
Against.
Councillor Kangarani.
For.
Councillor Kidd.
Against.
Councillor Lane.
Against.
Councillor Levitt.
Against.
Councillor McAvoy.
Against.
Councillor Murray.
Against.
Councillor O'Sullivan.
Against.
Councillor Osborne.
For.
Councillor Penman.
Against.
Councillor Rackham.
For.
Councillor Reid.
Against.
Councillor Riley.
Against.
Councillor Rickman.
Against.
Councillor Ring. Councillor Rippon Swain.
Against.
Councillor Russell.
Against.
Councillor Steele.
Against.
Councillor Thierry.
Against.
Councillor Thorne.
Against.
Councillor Tip.
Against.
Councillor Tungate.
Against.
Councillor Alex Wade.
For.
Councillor Malcolm Wade.
For.
Councillor Ward Christine.
Against.
Councillor John Ward.
Against.
Against. The motion's lost, Chairman.
Yep. I have just been informed the motion is lost We'll be staying for the 30 minutes, but just keep your questions brief and we'll get through a lot. Thank you very much. So going back to agenda item 8, questions to portfolio holder under Standing Orders 22A. Question 1 from Councillor Keith Grays to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Barry Rickman. Councillor Grays.
Chairman, thank you. Given the communications that the Council's COVID-19 Recovery Task and Finish Group established with local businesses this year, when looking at the current potential future business environment, how effective has establishing a mutual rapport been and how effective will it be? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Craze. I've been delighted by the positivity of debate and sharing of information that has taken place in the Local Economy Task and Finish Group. Over the past months, we have heard how a range of local businesses from different sectors and the impact COVID-19 has had on them. What we have learned from the Task and Finish meetings is helped inform policies for discretionary grants and supporting officers in securing additional grant funding from the LEP. However, I'm certain that we'll move into 2021. The impact of COVID-19 will continue to be felt with our economy, and the work of the Task and Finish Group has not finished. We know that key sectors of our economy, such as the hospitality sector, will require significant support over the coming months, and the skills agenda will be more important than ever. The Council cannot solve these issues alone. It's critical that we collaborate with different partners, sharing information, knowledge and resources to support the residents and businesses within the district. The Local Economy Task and Finish Group will continue to be a forum for bringing partners together to inform and prioritise how we support the economy in the New Forest. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2 from Councillor Steve Clark to the Portfolio Holder for Environment and Regulatory Services, Councillor Alison Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. With the government's recent announcement that the sale of new cars wholly powered without petrol or diesel will cease by 2030, and that 1.3 billion will be invested in electric charging points, can I ask the portfolio holder what the council can do to assist this change from petrol or diesel to a more sustainable form of transport?
Okay, well, in terms of our priorities, a reduction in the vehicle journeys must be our main focus, and we have achieved this year internally with the number of staff that we now have who can work from home. But we are aware that people, especially in our rural communities, will need to travel to local towns and villages, and therefore the council has been planning this announcement for some time. And I'm very pleased to report that the installation of 25 electric vehicle charging points in 9 of our car parks with improved signage and bay markings was completed last Friday, the 4th of December, with all 25 units now available for the public to use. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Supplementary, please.
You have a minute for your supplementary.
I'll take a minute. That's very good news to hear that. I hope to, in the future, take good use of them. But can I have your assurance that this won't stop there and we'll be installed in plenty more?
Thank you. Yes, we've just approved planning permission to create 4 additional spaces in Lyndhurst car park with 4 new vehicle charging points. Our plan is that will be completed by the middle of 2021. We're also arranging for a new rapid charging point in Ringwood Furlong car park, and this will replace the existing unit that is currently there. Our planning department are also requiring the provision of electric charging points for every new development that is built. As you know, last year we bought our first 4 electric vehicles, and we're in the process of evaluating our fleet, and a report will be brought back to the Environment and Overview panel in January, in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 3 from Councillor Neil Tungate to the Portfolio Holder for Finance, Investments and Corporate Services, Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Thank you, Chairman.
when I submitted this question, or subsequent to submitting my question, ICT department have, of course, been in contact with us all to partially answer it. So the question is this council proposing to migrate from Skype to Microsoft Teams in the near future? But maybe Councillor Heron has got some further information that he can give us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tangate, for your question. Yes, subsequent to you looking to submit this question, our ICT department has advised that from the 18th of January of next year, all our meetings will go to MS Team, and they are in the process of migrating our staff and our machines over to that system. I would like to mention that's ahead of the original date when we originally scheduled this work. We were looking at 2023, so obviously the change in the ICT requirements of this council have had that brought forward. The rollout of Teams is part of the council's ongoing investment in ICT, which has already seen our data storage virtualised in a public cloud, the replacement of our HR software, and our accounting platform. Our telephone system has been updated to voice over IP, enabling officers to answer calls wherever they connect to the internet. But ICT is not static, and to remain up to date we must continue to evolve, which is why the paper taken to Cabinet last month showed a further forecast expenditure of 2.17 million, as we need to see both our content management and our regulatory service systems replaced. Without the investment made in ICT, this council could not have maintained the delivery of service for the community that it did through the past year. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no supplementary. Question 4 from Councillor Arthur Davis to the portfolio holder for economic development, Councillor Michael Harris.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Something's going wrong here, but I'll give it a good go. My question is, how many businesses in the New Forest in general, and in Totton in particular, have been supported by the local restrictions support grant?
Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Davis, for your question. May I firstly say how lucky the residents of Totton are, and I don't just mean your ward in Totton, but the whole of Totton, that you're there representing them. Because whenever anything comes up, you are, dare I say, dogged in your question and in your support for the plans and the initiatives that are taking place across the district, but how they're going to affect Totton. And today's question is a good example of that. So I do thank you on behalf of all your residents. They're very lucky to have you looking after them. Turning to the specifics of your question, there are two grants, just so that all councillors are aware, there are two grants being distributed at this time. The local restriction grant is to all businesses, and it's paid on the basis of premises. So if you're occupying a business premise and paying business rates on that premise, then you automatically, there is a sum calculated that you're entitled to. And then there's an additional restrictions grant, which is for those businesses that aren't occupying those premises, who don't get an automatic payment. And so we've come up with a scheme, albeit heavily dictated and controlled by central government. We've come up with a local scheme for those businesses. So turning to the numbers, in terms of the local restrictions grant, as of close of business today, 1,411 businesses have been paid a total of £2,173,382. In terms of the additional restrictions grant, 85 businesses have been paid £90,354. And then finally, Councillor Davis, turning to your question about the businesses in Totton, as of the 2nd of December, and I'm sorry that it's a slightly older figure, but it's had to be worked out. Been quite, the officers have been working quite hard to pick that figure out, because, as I've said earlier, we don't differentiate between the businesses. They all get their grants regardless of where they're situated. So we've had to do some work, and as at the 2nd of December, 93 businesses in Totton have received a total of £139,050. I'm sure that figure will have increased by close of play today, but that's what it was at the 2nd of December. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris.
Thank you very much. Question 5 from Councillor Anne Bellows to the Portfolio Holder for Housing Services, Councillor Jill Cleary.
Thank you, Chairman. Following on from the Prime Minister's recent announcement to put the green agenda at the fore of what we do as a nation, could the Housing Portfolio Holder tell me what we are doing as a housing authority to respond to the green agenda? Thank you.
Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a very timely question and I thank the member for it. Members will be aware that, as a housing authority, we assume a number of roles. Not only do we own a large number of council dwellings, we are also building new properties. We also have responsibilities for the private sector, who will need to react so that they too implement better ways of ensuring more energy efficient homes to contribute to the ultimate objective of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Members, whilst 2050 might seem a very long way off, the hard work must start now. That is why the newly created Council's Greener Housing Task and Finish Group was set up. That group, under the chairmanship of the Chairman of the Housing Overview and Scrutiny Panel, is leading the way when it comes to this Council proactively taking steps to play its part as housing authority in bringing about a greener housing environment. That group has already put in place an ambitious work programme to analyse and understand what more we can and must do to rise to the challenge of significantly reducing our carbon emissions. They will be looking at how best to go about retrofitting our existing stock, recognising that the Council is already carrying out work to make our Council stock greener through extensive medium and longer term programme of capital works. This includes better insulated roofs, more efficient boilers and of course double glazing. We will also be looking critically when we build new properties to make sure the build standards that we adapt produce energy efficient homes with real cost benefits to our tenants in running them. We'll also be looking to use our influence in persuading the private sector to likewise think green when it comes to their own housing. There are a huge raft of measures, including grants, that the government are pushing and will play our part in assisting the take-up in this regard. Members, coming out of the Greener Housing Task and Finish Group will be a greener housing strategy, which I am delighted about. This will complement our other housing strategies and demonstrate that this Council means business when it comes to delivering excellent housing services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's no follow-up question. Thank you very much. Question 6 from Councillor Neville Penman to the Portfolio Holder for Community Affairs, Councillor Diane Andrews.
Thank you, Chairman. How has the pandemic affected the number of installations of Careline units?
Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Councillor Penman. The installation of Careline services between March and November 2019, in comparison for the same period this year, shows a decrease of 22% in new customer installations. This reduction is attributed to the government lockdown in March of this year. Although Appletree Carelines was deemed to be an essential service, the main customer base fell into a shielding group of being clinically vulnerable or extremely clinically vulnerable. While protecting those most at risk from COVID-19, this initially reduced the installation of new services to customers. Following a review of operational procedures and the undertaking of comprehensive risk assessments, this enabled Careline installations to resume to near normal levels. From August of this year, Careline installations were increasingly higher year on year, following the second lockdown. This again impacted and reduced new Careline installations. Overall, the comparison of new installations between August and November of this year with that of 2019 shows a small decrease of just over 3%. Appletree Careline continues to provide much needed care monitoring and response services for our most vulnerable residents at this difficult time in a COVID compliant manner. The focus is now on widening the traditional customer base to increase installations over the coming months. Members, some good news. The team recently received praise and thanks from a family of an Appletree Careline customer who, having sadly endured a burglary, activated their lifeline for assistance. The team were able to quickly deploy help, with the police detaining the person responsible. It is responses like this that demonstrate not only the reassurance and benefit of Appletree Careline's 24-hour service, but also the additional protection it provides to its customers. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews.
Well,
thank you. I will now go on to question 7 from Councillor Caroline Rackham to the portfolio holder for Planning and Infrastructure, Councillor Edward Heron. Councillor Rackham.
Thank you. The last time parking in Totton Town Centre was discussed at a meeting, Councillor Heron said he would be undertaking some consultation and would take that into account before making the decision about imposing charges on our car parks. I wonder how many people Councillor Heron has managed to consult with and how many of them agreed that charges would be a good idea.
Thank you, Councillor Rackham. Councillor Heron.
Chairman, thank you. The consultation was undertaken in accordance with that set out in my decision report of the 11th of September. That included notification to statutory consultees such as the County Council, bus companies, the Road Haulage Association, etc. Letters were sent to 21 businesses located adjacent to the car park. A notice was placed in a local publication, Hampshire Independent, which was published on the 23rd of October. The consultation was published on the Council's website, and perhaps I think most importantly, notices were placed in all the affected car parks. From that, 7 objections were received to the proposals by the Council. Chairman, along with that, I did meet with a resident in Totton, at Councillor Pesman, a business owner, at Councillor Penman's request. And Chairman, I obviously have, subject to restrictions, been talking to people about these. And I will say that obviously there are some businesses that are very concerned about charges within Totton. Actually, when many of those are explained about the long stay and short stay clocks, many of their concerns are assuaged. But also, Chairman, speaking to other people across the district who have been paying for quite a number of years now, they're somewhat surprised that Totton hasn't been having a level playing field with them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have a supplementary.
Please do.
Unfortunately, you didn't say how many people had actually agreed with the charges that were residents of Totton. I understand from your next report that there were 7, all of whom disagreed with the charges that you were putting forward. And we've had the conversation before about how Totton and all other towns in the forest are individual and different to each other.
So is this a question or a statement?
It is a question. Since Totton won't benefit from tourism as people get out and about, and also is faced with competition from Southampton, could we at least delay charges for maybe 6 months to give our town centre a chance to recover and then review if charging still is a sensible option?
Councillor Heron.
Chairman, thank you. First, and I don't want to go through the debate, Chairman, that's been had very helpfully at the panel and in other places, but many of the points that are raised that are unique about Totton, and of course Totton is unique, all our towns and villages are unique, but many of the arguments that are relied on, I noticed Councillor Harrison raised size. Well, New Milton is larger. competition. Well, you meet with Christchurch, Ringwood with Bournemouth. There are many issues that affect across the board, but I would point out that our parking clocks at £120 a year for a long stay and £25 a year for a short stay mean that those who perhaps are fortunate enough to afford a car hopefully will not find them too challenging. But of course, remember at the moment, Tottenham's residents who are unable to afford a car are subsidising the parking of those who do not. But Chairman, no, I do not intend to revisit the timing. I feel that this is a fair and equitable way to recoup the costs of our parking and services across the district.
Thank you very much. Councillors, may I remind you, we are getting close. I make it that we should stop it at 1950, so I will carry on for a few more. Question 8 from Councillor Alex Wade to the portfolio holder for leisure and wellbeing, Councillor Mark Steele.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I did put a comment in the side bit. I'll disregard that for time. My question is, I have previous experience as a past member on the Task and Finish group in the previous administration looking at the leisure centre privatisation process. So recently I was appalled to see that the customer focus group set up at that time now refusing to be part of this process. This is due to the COVID virus recent closures as well. Is it possible to continue with a process which seeks to privatise the management of our leisure centres, and isn't it time to stop and wait until it's possible to more accurately predict future incomes and strategy for the leisure centres? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Steele.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you for your question, Councillor Alex Wade. And good evening. What I would say is we are, of course, disappointed that the customer focus group feel they cannot continue, but we respect their decision. We will continue to invite the customer focus group members to our next stakeholder meeting, and we are planning to hold virtual customer forums in mid-January with any preferred bidder, which will be publicised in early January. I know that some customer focus members have already indicated that they will be attending the customer forums. Input from the customer forum group was very valuable, and feedback from them has been reflected in work on the review at each stage. The service has for many years been an excellent health and leisure service for the area, but with a subsidy, and this position continues to be unsustainable. The partnering procurement process has shown that bidders can provide a service that meets the council's objectives of working with partners to create active communities by providing affordable, accessible leisure facilities dedicated to improving physical and mental health and well-being, and establishing a sustainable, healthy lifestyle legacy for future generations. I can say best and final offers from bidders are due on the 9th of December. The bids will then be fully evaluated and discussed with Task and Finish Group. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wade, do you have a subsidiary?
Yes, I do, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele, for that response. Can you confirm then that, considering the wider factors now at play impacting all businesses of all types, that there will be due diligence done on the remaining companies who are bidding, with transparent and a full audit on their accounts, so that the longevity of our leisure centres and the 5 communities that rely on them is considered very heavily? Because as we've seen some leisure centres closing, unfortunately, elsewhere in the last few months, this is a genuine concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Alex. I can say my objective has always been about sustaining the health and leisure service, now and in the future. And therefore, I believe it is right that we wait for the conclusion of the partnering procurement process. Thank you again.
Thank you. May I just comment that as part of the procurement process, you have to go through a true process that is open and clear. Thank you. Question 9, I think we can just about fit it in if everyone's quick. From Councillor Mahmood Kangagari to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Barry Rickman. Councillor Kangagari.
Thank you, Alan. My question, following the extraordinary admission made to the Council recent cooperative overview and scrutiny, which I'm a member, £225,000 of public money plus money from Enterprise M3, totaling £450,000 funding going to a single organisation called 49, without any tangible to show for it.
Councillor Kangarani, that's not the question you've submitted.
Yeah, that is, I have.
Not the wording I've got.
Does it matter? Shall I carry on?
It does. Please use the question submitted to be fair to the portfolio holder.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Without any anything to show for it, is it time for the Conservative administration to give up its fox role in hen house and allow opposition members of this council to chair independent scrutiny committees, normally in other councils, to ensure that this kind of disordered mistake never happens again? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barry Rickman.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chairman. With regard to chairman of overview and scrutiny panels, the election of a chairman for each of this council's 4 overview and scrutiny panels is a matter for each panel to determine at their first meeting following the council's annual meeting in May. Other councils was mentioned in the question, so it's worth noting that the Liberal Democrat administration in Eastleigh, all overview and scrutiny panels are chaired by Liberal Democrat councillors only. However, I would like to reiterate it is for a matter for each overview and scrutiny panel or committee in any local authority to determine who the right person is for the position of chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kangarani, have you a supplementary? No. Thank you very much. We have no further time for any more questions. One more? I've just been told we've got time for one more question. So that's from Councillor Malcolm Wade to the portfolio holder for Environment and Regulatory Services, Councillor Alison Hall.
Sorry, I haven't followed up my question. I think I was muted. I could not put my follow-up question. I was muted.
I don't know who muted you, but if you make it fairly quick, well, let it
sure. That would be just to put to the point. What lesson have we learned from this experience? Do we have a process in place that due diligence take place before any of this enterprise? And also, do we have an auditing in place to look at the finance of these companies, or will we have a report given every 6 months from these enterprises? Thank you.
Okay, Chairman.
Councillor Rickman, will you take that? Because it seems fairly related.
Okay. I understand the point that the council is making, and it's a point well made.
Thank you.
I am confident the proper procedures have been gone through in this subject. I also think that this work is a great investment for the future. I remain in the view that providing specific space within the district for innovation and start-up business is critical to the economy of the district council, and especially at this time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Right, I'll go back to Councillor Malcolm Wade's question. The question is from Councillor Malcolm Wade to the portfolio holder for Environment and Regulatory Services, Councillor Alison Hall. I hope we can make this a fairly quick question.
Oh, it is. Can you advise what our current carbon footprint is and the amount it has been affected by operational changes due to COVID-19?
Thank you very much. Councillor Hall.
Thank you for your question, which is pretty topical given the last 9 months of living in this very difficult times. and working in very alternative ways. The carbon dioxide emissions for our vehicle fleet, which comprises of 190 vehicles, has remained fairly static over the COVID-19 period, with the majority of vehicles still being used for their daily tasks, and on occasions additional hired vehicles needed for increased cleaning, especially of our public conveniences, and to ensure social distancing of operational staff, and that's with regard mainly to the refuse collection. I am pleased to report, though, that the trial of the 4 electric vehicles is progressing really well, with the vehicles covering 41,500 miles in the last 12 months, with the associated savings of 10,130 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions compared to an equivalent diesel vehicle. Where, of course, we have seen significant improvements is within our buildings, where we can see that for the first half of 2019-20 financial year, the amount of carbon dioxide produced was 1,346 tonnes, but this has reduced to 907 tonnes for the first half of this financial year, an overall decrease of 33%. We've had a 38% decrease in the health and leisure centres. Well, of course, the main reason for this is the reduction in the use of our buildings due to the ability of our staff to work from home, as well as the leisure centres being closed for a period of time during the first lockdown. There is, of course, a relationship to expenditure as well, and we can see a reduction on gas and electricity costs over the same 2 periods, which have decreased by 18%, 18, when compared to the first half of 2020-21 with 2019-20. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hall. Councillor Wade, do you have a supplementary?
Equally quick, Chairman, as well. Thank you for those answers, Councillor Hall. Could you tell me what actually is our overall carbon footprint? Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely honest, at this moment in time, I could not give you the round figure, but I can get it to you in the next few days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see Councillor Davies wishes to have a point of order. Could you now make that point of order, please?
Yes, I make a point of order in relation to Standing Order 48.4, which is about the length of replies from portfolio holders. And I make the point of order in relation to 48.6, which is that the chairman shall remove any questions deemed frivolous or I think it's unsubstantial or something.
There are several I've considered for removing for being frivolous and unsubstantial, but I've seen no reason to step in at this moment. I will watch that in future. Thank you very much. Agenda item 9, membership of committees and panels. Councillor Cleary.
The Conservative group have no changes. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Chairman, you'll be delighted to know that the Liberal Democrats are also not changing, but I wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
And the same to you. Thank you very much. Agenda item 10, any other items which the Chairman decides are urgent? There are none. This concludes the business of the Council meeting. I'd like to thank you all very much for attending and wish you all a very peaceful, enjoyable, festive period. And I declare the meeting closed.
Merry Christmas, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
I can now go home and start celebrating. Thank you.